Good evening and welcome back to the question and answer series for anash.org. This week we will address a couple of questions which we have received regarding Hanukkah, since Hashem, the end of the week will be Hanukkah. Question: can I light the menorah by a porch door opposite the mezuzah, or is it better to use the doorway that is more used? The answer is, if you are lighting the menorah usually indoors, not outdoors, so then you should light it by a room which we eat. That means the dining room, the dinette, wherever is a room which you eat, you light it over there. If the porch opens to the kitchen, then you could light the menorah by the porch door, and has a mala because it has people from outside will also be able to see it. And that's only what if it opens to the dinette or the kitchen. But if it doesn't open to one of these rooms, it opens, let's say, to a playroom, so according to the Tirzuv, which writes that when a person has a room where he sleeps and a room where he eats, you should light the menorah and a place in a room where you eat. So it's preference to light the menorah in a room which you're going to eat, and not in a room which has a door and you don't eat over there. Question: we will Hashem have a public lighting with a limit of 4 people, and will Hashem broadcast it live. Can a bracha be made at the lighting? The answer is no, because you don't have a minyan by the lighting, so therefore you don't make a bracha. The Mugnavruam writes that Erev Shabbos, we tzint Erev Shabbos after Mincha, so we have a minyan. But some people do not tzint after Mincha; they tzint first, and then they go to shul and they daven Mincha Ma'ariv. So when they tzint, the Shamas tzins the menorah Erev Shabbos, there's no minyan. So the question is, could you make a bracha or not? So the Mugnavruam writes that yes, even though when the Shamas will light the menorah in shul, there won't be a minyan, he can still make a bracha, since afterwards when the people will come davening Mincha or Ma'ariv, Kabbalah Shabbos, so therefore it will be a minyan, so therefore he could light the menorah with a bracha. And this is brought down in Mugnavruam Sim Tufrash Ayin Ala Sifkut Yid, and the Chayudah brings it down, the Mishnah Berurah brings it down in Sifkut Mem Zayin, that you could make a bracha even there isn't a minyan. Now, some poskim disagree with this halacha, but Akaporim the Mishnah Berurah paskins like that. So first I thought maybe that you could apply this halacha to this public lighting, but it's not correct, because over here with the Mugnavruam writes is in a situation that after a while there will be 10 people which will be by the menorah. That means people will come to Mincha Ma'ariv and there will be 10 people. So therefore, since it's going to be a tzibur of people, there's no problem to light it. Even now, when you light it, there isn't a minyan. But in the case what you write, that basically there won't be a minyan at all, it will be only 4 people, and even later won't be 10 people together. So there is no reason to say that you could also light the menorah with a bracha. So it's not the same as the Mugnavruam Legab Erev Shabbos. Now, if you do it, broadcast it live, that's still not a good reason that you should be able to make a bracha. Why? Because when it comes to Adlukas Nairis, the Indian is seeing the menorah, seeing the light. Seeing through Zoom or through other kind of broadcasts, that's not seeing the menorah. So therefore, you could not make a bracha, although it's being broadcast through Zoom or live by other media ways. So therefore, you should not make a bracha when you light the menorah. But if you could have 10 people to come and be there where you light the menorah, even if they're going to stay in their car, but at least you can have 10 people together, then I would say that you could make a bracha, because you have 10 people seeing you lighting the menorah, so then you can make a bracha, and all other people will watch it through Zoom or other media broadcast. Question: am I allowed to prepare latkes for a Hanukkah party while the lights are burning? The answer is yes. You are permitted to cook. Cooking is not a problem to do while the menorah is burning. It means the first half an hour when the menorah is burning. Continuing of the question: what constitutes a malacha in the context that you cannot do it while the menorah is burning? The answer is, the poskim say, only things which is also to do on Chalamoid and Rosh Chodesh, which women do not do on Rosh Chodesh, that these are the things that you are not permitted to do in the first half hour when you light the menorah. So sewing, washing laundry, etc. But cooking is not a problem. So again, whatever it's permitted to do Chalamoid and Rosh Chodesh, it's permitted to do while the menorah is burning. Question: a person is in the hospital, what should he do regarding lighting the menorah? The answer is like this: a person is in the hospital and he cannot light the menorah because nobody would let you light the menorah in the hospital. So if he has, his wife is home and she's lighting the menorah, because women are machiev to light the menorah to be yoitz of Nairas Chanukah the same as men. That means they were also part of the Nes of Chanukah, so therefore they are also part of the mitzvah. But usually they are yoitza through the husband are lighting the menorah. But if you are in hospital, so then your wife has to light the menorah in home. So since she's lighting the menorah at home, the person which is not home, is in the hospital or wherever he is and he cannot light the menorah, does not need to light the menorah, and is yoitza through his wife which is home and is lighting the menorah. It's called in halacha ishto madlekes bevaisa. His wife is sending the menorah at home. But if he doesn't have a wife, so then he should ask a person and make him a hashliach. He should go home to his house, b'toch baisoy, and that person should light the menorah for him. This is how Reb Cheskel wrote in his Sefer Mechanike, and other poskim write that you can make a shliach. Some disagree with this psak, but a lot of other poskim agree that you could have a shliach. Somebody should go into your house and light the menorah, so therefore you should send somebody to your house and he should light the menorah b'shlichoschu. And Reb Cheskel writes in his sefer that if, let's say, in hospital they let you put on the menorah even for a minute, then at least you should put it on, even though you'll have to it will only burn for a minute, but you cannot make a bracha. So if you have a wife at home, you don't need to tzend licht because she is tzending for you. You're yoitze with her putting on the menorah, lighting the menorah, and if you don't have somebody at home, send somebody b'shlichoschu to light the menorah. Question: can we light Hanukkah candles at the outdoor minyan? A good question, which is negaya. Some places which they still have outdoor minyanim because of the problem of the coronavirus, and the answer is yes. If it's a minyan which is basically for a while, so it is considered like a basic nesses, and although it doesn't have walls and it's not covered, a ceiling, you could still light the menorah like in a shul, and the same as by the Kois Lamaruvi. You still by the koisel, although you daven outside, you still light the menorah there. The same will go to minyan, which is outdoors. Since it's a minyan which is for a while, the daven over there, Mincha Ma'ariv, you could light the menorah over there with a bracha, the same as in the Beis. But you have to make sure that it is in the box and the wind will not blow it out. Because if the wind will blow it out, you cannot light the menorah and make a bracha. It's a bracha lavatula. But if you have a box which you can put in inside and the wind will not blow it out, then you could send the menorah because it is considered a basic knesses. Question: can you please clarify about ner Chanukah of women and girls when they're home? Women do not light the menorah on their own, themselves. Although by Chanukah there's a such thing as mahadrim and mahadrim, that means every boy and every adult is lighting the menorah for their self. Although they are yoitza with the head of the household when he lights the menorah, but women do not light the menorah when they have a husband at home because they are yoitza with the husband. Now the question is why? Since women were a part of the nest of Chanukah and they're mechiyav in their Chanukah, so why shouldn't they light the menorah also like mahadrim and nahadrim? Everybody, every girl, every lady should light the menorah on their own. Now the Rebbe Sefer HaMenugim writes in Umat 69, he writes that that's the minik that women do not light the menorah, and over here writes that the Achronim are asking already this question, why not? And the answer, since the woman is part of the husband, so therefore she's not lighting the menorah. So therefore the daughters are also not lighting the menorah, because it doesn't make sense that the mother doesn't light, because she is part of the husband and the daughters should light. So therefore nobody lights. And the Rebbe writes it's a little doichig. It's not it doesn't like this answer, and he says that the real answer is like it says in Mishmeres Shulam Simon Memches, that since there are a lot of people, women, girls, that they cannot make a bracha, so therefore they made nobody could make a bracha now. Since there are people, especially once upon a time, not all the women will be able to say brachas, so therefore they didn't want to say one lady should make and one lady should not make. There's no such thing as women should make a bracha at all, and that's why the minig is that women do not light the menorah even als mahadrim and mahadrim. The Chassam Sofer writes, since the minig was to light the menorah outdoors, because that's the ideal way how to light the menorah, and the Gemara says once upon a time they used to light outdoors, but only because of a gezaira, which the Goyim did not let us light the menorah outside, so therefore we started lighting indoors. So since but original the Tikona was made that women should light outdoors, and we know kol kavud bas melech penima, women and girls is their place is at home and not on the street. That means the more they can stay home, the better. So therefore, the Chazal did not massacre that the girls and women should light the menorah. And this is how it's the minig is still now today. Even though today's day women are going out on the street, but the minig was like tchila like that. So therefore, women do not light the menorah on their own. But that's only when they're at home. If they go in a play and they have a separate house, that's why a lady which does not have a husband, or a girl which is has an apartment, she lives on her own, she has to light the menorah with a bracha, because she is mechiv to light the menorah of ner Chanukah. But if she is staying by someone else's house, or she's in the seminary, then she's part of the bnei bayis, of where she eats, and she does not need to light the menorah because she's part of the bnei bayis where she lives or she stays. Question: on the Chanukah, I will be leaving my house at about 2 p.m. on a plane trip, arriving at my destination about 10:30 p.m. What do I do about lichbenchen? my wife will be home? The answer is, as we mentioned before, whenever your wife is at home, she will light the menorah, and you don't need to light the menorah, because ishte madlek sulavabaisa means when your wife is lighting the menorah in your house, you do not need to light the menorah. So you're yoitza with your wife's hadluka. Now there's another halacha, which is, if you're going to be in a place which you're going to see ner Chanukah, then at least you should make a berches haroya. That means shusen is lavasaini, but the mitzvah for ner Chanukah yoitza through your wife's sending. Question: are Chanukah presents an appropriate form of Chanukah geld, or does it come from the goyim and it's perhaps an issue of chikas hagoyim? The answer is, there's no problem of giving Chanukah matonos, presents. And like the Rebbe writes, that this minig of giving presents for the children is because Chanukah, your mechanach, it's Chanukah is chachas of Torah. There was a gezaira not to learn Torah. And Chanukah, when we overcome the gezaira, we have to learn more Torah, because the Yevonim wanted lashkichem Torah seichu. So now when we are machanach the children and the kids that they should go back to learn Torah, we have to give them presents. And like the Rambam writes, that a child, when you want to be machanach, he should learn Torah and do mitzvahs. You are machanach him by giving him klois v'goizim, you're giving him some presents. So since the minig is to give Chanukah geld because of chaloich nanar, they should want to go back and learn Torah. So the same will go also to presents. It's not a problem to give presents, but perhaps you should also give Chanukah geld, because that's a separate minig, a heilige minig, that you should give Chanukah geld, like it says in Sefer HaManhugam, that in the fourth or fifth lichtel, the night, you should give Chanukah geld. But it's no problem, it's not a chikas hagoyim, that when you give presents for your children, chutz, except of money. And also in Emes Liyanka v'Shechanor Simtuf Rash Ein writes, he was asked this question, and he says that there's no problem. He says that the minig b'chlal of giving presents was because there used to be a minig that to give matonas for the malamdam, Chanukah and Purim used to give presents, money or presents, and from that it came out that also you give for the children matonas. So therefore it's not chikas hagoyim, and you could give presents. And it's interesting to know that the Chidusharim writes Remas why we give matonas on Chanukah, because the pasuk says in Tehillim oirich yumim bisminoi. On the right side is longevity, living long. On the left side oisher v'chuvet. So since ner Chanukah you light on the left side, so Remas on the left side is oisher v'chuvet, so therefore you give presents for children. So there's no problem giving presents for your children on Chanukah, but you should also give Chanukah geld. Question: I live in Crown Heights and will go for Shabbos to Monsey. Can I light the menorah Motzei Shabbos in Monsey, or should I wait till I go back at night to Crown Heights? A very important question which comes up every year, and the answer is you could light in Monsey the menorah. You don't have to wait till you go back to Crown Heights, because since you were there for Shabbos, so that became basically your bias. And since you slept there and you ate there, although you're not going to sleep there this night, but since you slept there the previous night, that means Shabbos, and you ate there for Shabbos, you're continuing being b'nai bias, you're continuing being a part of this household, and therefore you could still send the menorah in Monsey. You don't have to wait till you come back to Crown Heights. Continuing on the question, and what's about in the middle of the week? That means a person goes to his parents in a different city. That means he goes from Crown Heights to Monsey, and let's say for a Chanukah Masibah, and he goes back afterwards. to his house. Now he wants to leave early. Could he leave early in order to go to Monsey and he will light the menorah in Monsey? Or he should light the menorah only when he comes back at night to Corona Heights? The answer is like this. If you didn't sleep there at all, you only went there for a supper or for a Chanukah Masibah, then, and if it's not a big terche to wait till you go home at night in Crown Heights and your Bnei Bayis will be up when you're going to tzint, then you should do it when you go back to Crown Heights, because some poskim say that you have to go back. It's based on a Terzuaf, on the Mugan Avrom and the Terzuaf, which says that when you have a place where you eat and where you sleep, so that means you should tzint where you are in your house. So therefore, although you went away somewhere else, but since you didn't go away there for sleeping, just for a supper, so therefore you should tzint when you come back at house. But if it's a big tirche, waiting all the way till at night, or you Bnei Bayis, your children will fall asleep, then you could rely on poskim which say that you could tzint also in Monsey, because the Tirzuv writes in his words that if a person has apartment in his house and he goes eating somewhere else, then he has to tzint, he has to light the menorah in his apartment. So therefore, when a person is has an apartment and he goes to his parents, he cannot tzint by his parents, he has to tzint in his house. But he writes, if a person has an apartment in his city, Be'ir, so some poskim say that Be'ir is lav davke, and it means when you have a place where you have apartment and you're going another place where you're going to eat there, and you are going to go back that night to your house, then you should wait all the way till at night. But other poskim say that when the Tirzuv writes Mish Yeshlei Bayis Be'ir means Dafke Be'ir, because when you have an apartment in that same city, so you cannot leave your apartment and go to somewhere else to light the menorah. But if you leave that city, you go to a different city, and when it comes to the Zman of Tzin Lecht, you are not in your city, so it's not you left your house in order to go to somewhere else in the same city, and the city means bedafka, so therefore you don't need to go back. So this is a machlokes of Terei Zachroinim. So lekitchila, to be yoitz all the shittas, if you could go back on time and sin in Crown Heights, and your Bnei Bayis will be, all the children will be up and will be pasemanisa, do it in Crown Heights. But if you're going to come back very late and your children might not stay up, you could rely on that poskim that since you live in Crown Heights and you are in Monsey, you could send the Monsey and you don't have to wait till you go back at night to Crown Heights. Okay, we're going to stop here. Good night, have a wonderful week in a freiliche Chanukah.